Hi, I'm David Gawley from Pentagon Solutions and welcome to this BIM 360 Glue presentation. BIM 360 Glue is an online BIM coordination and management service that provides anytime, anywhere access to connected project information. This allows users and stakeholders to accelerate multidiscipline collaboration, reduce coordination review cycles and improve project efficiency. If you want to get started with Glue, you can download this from the Autodesk website. You'll get a 30-day trial and just make sure that you have the integration tools for the likes of your Revit and Navis. Getting started, you'll have a Glue client on your desktop, and I'm going to simply sign in using my 360 account. So once it signs in, it'll take me into some information, project information, and also it lets you know who has access to what projects, etc. in here, and we can do that through the admin settings. So we can actually control the settings of who you can actually add users into. Generally you'll have a sample user by default in there, and again you'll have various projects that you can actually add simply to it. So I'm just going to go back into the Pentagon Solutions and I'm going to add a project for the first time. So I've still got 4 days of my trial. You'll have this for a period of 30 days. And I'm simply going to add a project. So I'm going to call it project Retail Project A. And again, we can add an image name to this particular type of client you want to use. I'm just going to simply pick up the Pentagon logo off my desktop, like so. And we're going to hit done. We assign the project members at this stage, and again, if you assign any new members, they'll get an email notification and you can assign certain rights to them. So I'm simply going to save that off. And that's going to create my project. So if no project information in there at the minute, you can see if I go into my Retail Project A, there's no models and there's no merge models. So this is where I'm going to go to my Revit interface and say I have a supermarket design in here and I'm the architect. So it only has the architectural model physically in here. So if we go to our add-ins and if we've installed the plugins, we can simply go and glue. So we're going to glue out a couple of views. And again, it's going to post this information over the cloud. Now it understands that I'm actually logged in as NICADMAN. I can see that at the top through my subscription login. So we're going to look to actually post this information. And it's telling me it's posting it for the first time. So again, we can actually assign what project this is actually going to in here. We also have various options in here, whether we're using shared coordinate systems, which this will be using with the architect and the mechanical electrical engineer. So the project assigned to, we simply assign it to Retail Project A, and I'm going to scroll down and look for the particular views that I actually want to add in. So I'm just going to take the one view, the 3D view, which is my 3D working view. Just past it, like so. I'm going to hit glue it. That's going to post that information over the glue, over the cloud. You'll get notifications about the views it's actually creating in the background. So you can see it's uploading this view as we speak. But again, the notification will appear on the screen once it's complete. So that's the model nearly complete. So they're being glued presently. You'll get a completion on that. You'll get a notification that will actually appear on your desktop. I'm going to go back into my glue here and just go back into my Retail Project A and wait for that notification to come in. Again, you can see the option in there. It's actually saying model is gluing in the background, and once that's completed we will get a notification. We just simply need to hit refresh. So you can see the model successfully glued. I hit OK, I go back in the glue, and I can simply select that now and actually have a look at that model over the cloud. So it's going to pull the model up in my glue interface, and I've got great tools I can actually use in here. I don't need to have any other client software physically installed in here. I don't need to have Navis installed or anything to view this information. Again, I can see my 2D working view down here. I can see very similar controls that I'm used to from the Navis or designer view or even AutoCAD environment. So I can orbit the model, and again this is over the cloud, very quick. I can use my walk tool. I can make sure that my gravity's on, so I can go and have a look within my model. I can look up at this point as well, and again I can navigate and walk through my model. So you can see none of the structural information is actually added at the minute. Again, push through in the model, can't get through because of Navis control features in there such as collision. We can simply take that off and have a look within the model. We can also use the 2D plan view down in the corner here to simply navigate and drag the actual wheel about. Again, we can use our zoom tools as well in here. I can simply say zoom all to get me back in and easily orbit. So if you're used to the easy control tools in Navis, you'll find this very straightforward. What's handy in here as well is we can have a look at options, and we can actually measure options. So I could use point to point and we could measure. A question I'm commonly asked by default, it goes to feet and inches. One of the things that you need to be careful in there is actually under your options in glue. If you go to options, by default it might be on feet and inches. If you go to advanced, you can simply change that in there. And it's the same for the iPad. The iPad control actually has similar settings. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have a look at my remaining models. So I could be another stakeholder. I could be the structural engineer. So I'm simply going to open up the structural model, and I'm going to publish that into glue as well. Similar process, could be in a totally different location, totally different country in there, and I'm simply just going to go to my add-ins and glue this. So hit glue, edit glue. I'm going to pick the view that I'm going to use, so I'm going to use my 3D coordination view, and again make sure it is actually gluing into the same project. You can expand this down, and you can change the dialog box, just might make it a wee bit easier to actually find. So there's my 3D coordination view. I'm simply going to hit glue it. Once I have these various models from different stakeholders or project engineers coming in, we can actually create a federated model, which we'll talk about later on. So again, I'll let that glue in the background and let that run. So model's being glued in the background. I'll go back in the glue, go back into my retail project, and I'll see that a new model is actually being created. So again, you can see that 3D coordination model for the structural engineering one is actually being glued in the background. Again, you will get a notification back in your desktop to let you know once that's actually complete. Like so. Simply hit OK, go back in the glue, and we can pick up on it. So let's have a look at the structural one. Similar process in here, similar controls that we can actually use. We can navigate about on the screen. Again, we can use our traditional view cube in here. So very easy, very intuitive, particularly if you're giving this information to the client. They don't need to know an awful lot about technology in there. They will find the navigation controls very easy. So the structural engineers publish their information, architects publish their information. Let's go back and have a look at the mechanical engineer. So simply going to quit out, and I'm going to open up my mechanical electrical layout, and we're going to publish this as well. So again, we're going to have a look at our views that we want to publish out. I'm going to have a look at this MEP only view, and I'm simply going to hit glue. Again, we'll look at the information we're going to publish. So there's our 3D MEP only, and we'll simply hit glue it. So it's very intuitive, very one click in there. Again, you just need to make sure that you're setting up your shared coordinates. Again, once we look at level 2 compliance for like UK, this could be used for data aggregation if you're trying to publish information or share a federated model over the cloud. So being glued in the background, I'm going to keep that MEP view open because I'm going to run a clash detect later on, and you're going to see how it's going to come back and give me live information in my Revit model. So again, we should get a notification coming through here shortly, but I can take it back to my projects. Again, you can see the model being glued in the background. and once that's completed we'll get our notification coming through. So model successfully glued. It's all very quick. So it is. Again, we can have a look at MEP model, and we can click on it and navigate as before. So with 3 separate models coming from 3 separate design disciplines in here, and we really want to get this into what we would call a federated model. So a complete model so we can navigate, look at constructability issues, and certainly do the likes of a clash detect on. So how we do that is we go back into a retail project, and there's an area in here called merged models. So we're going to create a new merged model from the existing views in here. We're going to take the current models that we want to use, and we're going to call this federated retail model. Once we've selected our views, we simply hit merge. So this is getting these models, and because they're all using the shared coordinate system, it's merging these physically over the cloud. All very, very quick. It's doing it live, real time here. That's it done. Literally within about 10 seconds or so, it's actually created that model for us. So again, we can pan, we can orbit, we can navigate, we can use our walk tool in here. I'm going to make sure gravity's on. I'm going to take my collision off, and I'm simply going to navigate through. Again, just make sure gravity's on. Let's have a look at this model. So again, you can see the structural members are actually in now. Again, just take collision control off and go through. So you can see our structural members. You can see our MEP members in there. Let's have a look up at those. So again, obviously what we're going to want to do is perform a clash detect. So again, we can zoom out of this. We can simply orbit out of the view, and we can navigate around. So this has actually created a federated model for different views in here. So one of the things I want to do is actually create a clash detect on this. So let's have a look at clashes. So we're going to find a clash against our physical objects in here. And I'm going to run this between my MEP and my 3D coordination. And we're going to call this an MEP structural clash. We can specify tolerances in here if we need a certain tolerance around objects, say if it was for working conditions or fixings. I'm going to leave this as 0 millimeters, so it's going to be a hard clash in here. I'm simply going to hit find in the clashes. So it's finding all the clashes, got 88 clashes, it's physically found in the cloud. And we can look, you can see the pinpoints for each one of those clashes, so we can simply click on each clash in turn and have a look at it. So we can navigate very, very easily through the different clashes in here. Again, we can see all these ones actually listed. So we could have some concerns about this, or we could actually post a notification about this. So it mightn't be practical to move the steel. So I'm simply going to add a comment in here. Because we've got a comment, we can use a pinpoint clash to go back into Revit. So I'm going to say need to review can this be lowered 200 millimeters, and I'm going to hit save. So the other thing we can do is, apart from doing a notification in there, we can notify the user. So we can say, look, people on our project board in here, I'm going to say myself, I'm going to say need to review dropping duct, and hit send. So what will actually happen is a notification will be sent. So if I go into my email, and that notification goes directly to the user so that they can actually have a look at it in Glue. Let's just hit send receive. So again, all this is live. So you can see I've got a notification from myself, and I've created a structural clash in there, so I can actually go in and actually view that information. But the really nice thing about this is, if I go back to my Revit interface in here, in Glue, we can actually look at our clash pinpoint. So we can have a look at clash information, and you can see in there, because I've done that, because I've actually created a note on it, that I can have a look at that actual clash. So if I view it, it'll actually select the individual object, and if I view selected, it'll actually take me to that individual duct in my Revit model. It's a bit like using switchback in Navis, so it takes me in there. So if I hit the back key in there as well, I can go back and it'll actually show me the whole model. So this is a very quick way where you can actually have a look at that. And again, if you wanted to attach in the architectural model, you could go into your insert, you could go into your link Revit. I could bring in the supermarket structural model in here as you see it. So let's just view that again and go view selected. There it is. If we hit back, there it is in conjunction with our structural model. So it's a great way to actually use coordination in here where you're getting information from the cloud and you're actually pushing that information through. So let's go back into Glue. First of all, let's delete that link. In case we're republishing any information, we want to make sure that our links aren't actually getting published with that. So I'm just going to manage the links and remove that. Let's just remove that structure model. Okay, back in Glue. So again, we can review all these individual clashes in here and systematically take a look at each one and then comment. And this is typically what you would do on a federated model. And you have that level of accountability in there because you can see when the clashes were actually run against what version. The great thing in here as well is you can simply zoom out. You can see all the clashes running in the background, so if you're not too sure what it actually is, if you hover over, it'll tell you information about the clash. So you can see in here a particular clash down here and the number, so I can scroll down and have a look at clash number 34. And again, you can select it, and this is where you can actually get your message, or you can actually send your email to actually review that information. And again, once we actually make any changes back in our physical model, we can force this update to a different version to Glue in the cloud. So let's quit out our clashes. Again, we've got view control in here that we can actually use. So I'm just going to go zoom all, and we can actually control the models themselves. So if I have a look at my models, what we can do is we can right click and add transparency in here. So we can set transparency to certain views if we want, say, the mechanical electrical view to actually stand out. So again, we can do this and actually just set that in there very, very easily. The nice thing we can do in here is we can actually look at views, and we can add in an individual view. So we can say who has access to this view, the whole project or just myself, and I could just call that an MEP view. So we can recall that back information back at a later stage, so that's actually physically saved in the actual views. So again, when we're actually navigating, we can go back into views and we can view an individual view, a bit like you would do in Navis in there. So we can actually put this information in. Again, we can add folders to views as well. We can add various color information in there. We've got really great coordinated coordination items we can actually use. So that's getting started in Glue in a nutshell. What we're going to have a look at next is some iPad controls in here. So here we are in the iPad interface, and what we can do is we can go into our BIM 360 Glue. We can see our federated models in here and all our project models. The nice thing about this is it'll actually cache them, so we can take this information on site very, very easily. So again, you can see that we can actually navigate throughout the model. Again on the iPad, and we can interrogate the model views. We can walk within the views in there as well very, very easily. We have an augmented reality button, whereas if we get pinpoint of view, we can actually use it to actually physically look at. I'm not on this side at the minute. So very easily we can look at this information on the iPad as well. So the information is coming from Revit, it's going directly over the cloud, and it's being federated as a model in Glue, and then we can publish that information out as well to the iPad. I'm David Gully, thanks for listening.